Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Allah.
Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. وقال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. We begin with the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, the Almighty, the All-Seeing, the All-Hearing. And yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends blessings and peace upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, upon his blessed family, and upon those that follow his prophetic way until the end of time. And so we've already entered the month of Rabi' al-Thani. Right? We passed Rabi' al-Awwal, in Arabic to English, the first spring. In many Muslim civilizations and many Muslim cultures, it's celebrated of the advent of mercy to be coming here in the form of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We think about this concept of celebrating the life of the Prophet, and we reflect on this. What is mercy embodied? How do we look to it? How do we see it with the family, with the community in mind? Who was the Prophet for us? These are some questions that come around as a reflection on who the Prophet was, or a better question, who the Prophet is for us. Right? That's a better question. Who the Prophet is for us. Right? In weekend school, how I experienced the life of the Prophet was through the historical events. The Prophet was born at this date. He went through this challenge, he went through that challenge, this event happened, Ta'if happened, Hudaybiyah happened, the passing of the Prophet ﷺ happened at this date, and so on and so forth. That's the historical account of the Prophet ﷺ, which is called the Seerah, right? But is there an attachment, there is something more to that for us as the believer, to us, to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, right? There is a sense of like, when we hear the Prophet, we're told to say, every time we hear the name of the Prophet Muhammad, we say Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? And the meaning of that is, God's peace and blessings be upon him. But, in my experiences, it became sort of like a duty. Something that I just have to do. I just gotta checklist it. Right? But there's something that was missing of that puzzle. That missing piece of love. Right? When we think about love, we think about how, why someone in our understanding, in our actuality of being in Los Angeles, why would someone like Muhammad Ali not have the name of Muhammad on the floor, like all the other stars? But why would he raise it to where it would be having its own separate space? Right, where we can see today, if you go check out Hollywood. Why would he do that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ, which is very manifested within that understanding of how Muhammad Ali raised the name of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Right? How much respect, how much love it was to the point that I'm not going to step on his name. Okay? That's something that we're trying to achieve as believers. That's something that we're trying to attain in terms of understanding who the Prophet truly was. Right? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And these are some reflections coming out of the first spring, where, after a harsh winter in the time of the Arabs, you see the first blossoming. That's the advent of the mercy to all of mankind, and not just mankind, to the whole universe, to the cosmos. That was mercy embodied. That was the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? We're going to share some examples, inshallah, of that. And we know that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ, that he was not sent, that we have not sent you, Allah saying to the Prophet, إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ, as mercy embodied for not just the Muslims, for not just the non-Muslims, not just whatever we see here, but all of creation, other than Allah. That the Prophet was of mercy. When he went towards Isra and Mi'raj, the ascension of the Prophet ﷺ towards the divine presence, towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we reach that point of that realm of intimacy with our Lord, you don't want to deal with anything else with this dunya. Because this world already has so many challenges for us. The society that we live in, the environment that we grew up in, there's a lot of challenges that can feed your ego, that can make you think that this is it. I'm going to get my good, and that's it. Right? So the Prophet could have said that when he met with his Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in heaven. Right, in paradise. But what did the Prophet do in that conversation? We say that in the tahiyyah at the ending. Tahiyyah itself means the salutations. Right? It was a conversation that was happening between the Prophet and the divine presence himself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We said, Assalamu alaikum ayyuhan nabi wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That Allah is conveying His salam. Allah is conveying peace upon you, O Prophet. The Prophet says, he could have said, Assalamu alaikum, I'm here with you, O Allah, take me, I don't want to do with this world, so on and so forth. What he said was something that is out of the character and the mercy of the Prophet. Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadillahi as-salihin. He didn't say mercy or peace be upon me because you have conveyed this to me, O Allah. But he remembered a people. Right? He remembered a people. Assalamu alayna. Peace be upon us and upon the servants of Allah that are righteous. Right? This is something telling when you're in a good spot that, for example, when you want good, when you have made it, don't forget your people. That's something we need to have. When you're in a good spot, when you feel that Allah has given you so much bounty, so much good in your life, you gotta share it. Because the Prophet ﷺ shared that good. The Prophet ﷺ shared that good. That's an example of prophetic concern for the community. We want good for the other. That was the Prophet. Are we wanting good for the other? That's the question. And that good, it shows in a specific gathering of the Prophet ﷺ, when the Sahabas, when they were gathered with the Prophet, there's a description of how the Sahabas, they characterized that gathering. Here's a description or a narration of the Prophet from the collection of the At-Thohir, Al-Shama'il al-Muhammadiyya, the characteristics of the Prophet. So the companions say, the gatherings of the Prophet were of forbearance and shyness. We can reflect on this, on how we meet up with people. How do we hang with people? How do we meet with people? They were of patience and trust. We have trust with one another. Is there trust cultivated in the community? They were equal and superior to one another only on the basis of taqwa, meaning the basis of God consciousness. Are we like that with one another? In his gatherings, they were humble. We didn't want to one-up each other. Right? We wanted good for each other, we didn't want to one-up one another. In his gatherings, they should have respect to the elders. We see elders in the community. How do we treat them? How do we interact with them? They have mercy upon the young. How do we treat the people that are younger than us? They give preference to those who are in need. When we see someone that's in need, how do we deal with that? Do we just shrug it off? Do we help them? Do we go out of our way to be of help and to be of aid? And we look after the stranger. Right? The idea of the prophetic community is to be of these qualities. When you see someone older than you, Imam al-Ghazali, he says, there are ways that we can interact with one another. I'm paraphrasing. When you see someone older than you, and this goes into having a good opinion of each other. Right? Do we have good opinions of each other, or do we already have these ill thoughts in mind? Oh, this person is, with their impression and so forth. When you see someone older than you, you think to yourself and say, this person has done so much good in this world, much more than me. I want to reach that level of obedience of Allah as how He has lived this world. When you see someone younger than you, you think to yourself, this person, they've done way less bad and way less harm than I have been living. I want to reach that state to do less harm for myself for my people, there's a dua, ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا, that, oh Allah, we have harmed, we have oppressed and transgressed our souls. And if you don't forgive, Ya Allah, and you don't have mercy upon us, then we would be sure of the losers. When we're looking at the younger ones, we see that they've done less of harm, because they've been only at this world of less many years than us. And even to the point of, we're talking in the context of someone who is a believer, and someone who is a non-believer, we say, perhaps that person has been chosen by Allah. As how the Sahabas, as how the companions has been chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to flip their life, to flip their lives 180. And we see that example here in our contemporary history of Islam in America today. Think to the life of Malcolm X, Allah mercy on him. How his life has flipped. Right? How the Sahabas has flipped from trying to assassinate the Prophet to, being in emotional tear and bewilderment to seeing how the Prophet has gone and parted from this world. Right? Those are some sentiments that we have about the Prophet Muhammad. And I'll end it right here, and we'll continue on with the next khutbah with an incident that the Prophet of God had when he dealt with people. We showed some things. Something that says of this was that the Prophet was a man of the people. Right? He knew his people. That's an example that we should strive towards. Do we know our people? Do we know the needs of our people? Do we care about the concerns of the people? Right? Because within the Muslim community, within many of our families, we're in need of that care. Whatever goes on in society, the Muslim community is not blind and is not immune of that. Right? In fact, there are many cases where, unfortunately, issues of mental illness and domestic violence and suicide happens within the community because of the many things that go on within the Muslim community. Meaning, where's the trust? Where's the love? Right? The prophetic way was to spread that love. Was to spread the salams. Was to spread the salams of Salam alaykum. And what do we mean by spreading the salams? It's not just the physical handshake, Assalamu alaikum, not just to start off with that, to be that person to first say the salams, but to create and curate that place, that space of peace. Right? When you go into a classroom, if you're a teacher or a professor, they say that we want to create a safe space of learning. Because if someone is not safe, they don't have this idea of security within a space of learning, they're not going to learn anything. Right? What they're looking for first is safety. I want to be secure with myself. Right? But the Prophet of God, whenever he dealt with someone, he dealt with them to where they felt a sense of security with themselves. They were at ease with who they were. Right? And so the challenge for us today is, can we have that same sense when we're with the family, when we're with the people that we meet? Can we be people that procure security with each other? Right? With our families, with our parents, with our children, with our siblings. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that we can be people of those that create peace, that are truly peacemakers within our communities, as how the prophetic past was, as a peacemaker. As a peacemaker. Okay. We ask Allah to forgive us and to save us from Allah. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد المصطفى صلى الله عليه وسلم. Alhamdulillah, when we meet people, we look into ourselves and we see that we come from many backgrounds, many walks of life, right? We may not know what people go through with their own insecurities, with their own anxieties, what they deal with. But the Prophet was made available. He was made accessible for people to come through. Okay, there's an example of that where a woman in Medina, she asked the Prophet, or went to the Prophet in terms of consultation. He said, I have a need to ask of you. Right? It was just some random woman right here. Right? And the Prophet replied, sit on any street of Medina you wish, and I will come and sit with you. Right? And this was, quote unquote, a stranger. This was, quote unquote, someone that you wouldn't see within the community, just someone random. He said here, how the prophetic way in terms of meeting people and greeting people, especially people that we don't know, was that we have respect of the elders for what they've done. We have mercy upon the young because they're going to be the following generation. We give preference to those that are in need, right? Because the one who fulfills those in need are those that are preferred by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we look after the stranger, because the Prophet of God looked after the stranger. And so, to end here, inshallah ta'ala, a message that I want to take away from the reflection of celebrating this man and who he was. Not just who he was, because when we affirm the Shahada, we affirm being Muslim, we say the Shahada, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, that we bear witness, we testify that there is no God but Allah, and we say that the Prophet was, we don't say was, we say is. The Prophet is the Prophet of God. Prophet Muhammad is the Prophet of God, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? So it's to walk the walk, not just to talk the talk. Right? We can always say things about the Prophet. We can always say things about encouraging people and so forth. It's up to us. It's up to the community. It's up to every individual. When they come back after this khutbah, how are you dealing with the other person? How are you dealing with the person next to you? How are you dealing with your coworkers? How are you dealing with your friends at school? To really think about having that prophetic presence in mind when you deal with others. Right? That's the way of the Prophet, right? To really care about the other. To have prophetic, true concern. It's not for any gain. Right? And that was the care of the Prophet. However, here, the best of you, as the hadith, a narration of the Prophet, the best of you are those that are the best to their families. I am the best of their families. Right? You can pray all you want. You can make dua all you want. But the way you deal with others is also indicative of how you are truly a follower of the Prophet Muhammad. That's something that we need to think about. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to truly rectify our interactions with each other. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow the Prophet to be a guide for us in the way we deal with others. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that what we said here in this khutbah can be understood and applied in a way that is befitting to be of care and concern for the other. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so that our interactions with each other, our interactions with the family, our interactions with our parents, our interactions with our siblings, our interactions with the community members, the Muslims that we meet, the non-Muslims that we meet, the people that we meet, creation that we deal with is a way of mercy, as how the Prophet Muhammad did. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us a true understanding of the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to forgive us and to have mercy upon us, and to give us the best of this life and in the hereafter. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. وأقيموا الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
Cepat kan belum boleh sehari. Oh, internet. Ayo. لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. استقيموا واعتدلوا استغفروا على الله في قلوبكم. String the lines. Have the presence of Allah within your hearts. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى. ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله Alhamdulillah, Jumaah Mubarak to everyone. We have some announcements, inshallah. So, this Maghrib, today, for Friday, we're going over the Shama'il Muhammadiyah. We'll be going over for a couple of weeks, inshallah. So, come by. It's a book compilation of the narrations of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ about his characteristics. And we go over that from Maghrib to Isha, inshallah, over here at Masjid At-Thohir. Second, we wanted to end with a dua, inshallah. There's a dua for some community members that have passed, inshallah. It's Baba Deni Purnama and Ibu Mahani Fajaryanti. They passed away. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. So we're going to make dua, inshallah, and we'll end it there. اللهم اغفر لهما وارحمهما وعافهما واعف عنهما اللهم لا تحرمنا اجرهما ولا تفتنا بعدهما فاغفر لنا ولهما يا رب العالمين. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive them and to clean their slates towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah to accept them to Jannah Firdaus al-A'la towards the best of Allah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give patience and forbearance upon the family that has been left, Ya Rabb al-Alameen, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it an ease for them towards Jannah Firdaus al-A'la, Ya Rabb al-Alameen. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Sholat subuh masih jam 6.15. Sholat subuh masih jam 6.15. Come early supaya dapat parkir di dalam, hanya cukup untuk 8 mobil. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakumullahu khairan.